Hi everyone, Aquarian Humanitarian here. Today we will continue our dialogue. I'm grateful and excited because we get to sit with Sir Tato Malay. He has so much wisdom to share with us today. This time it's about the 20 qualities of a Kamalayan learner. Kamalayan means consciousness. The last four sessions, we covered qualities 1 to 10. Today, we will continue and see how much we can cover in an hour. So, with that said, I want to welcome and introduce our Tato Malay.
Hello and good afternoon once again. Hello, Jane. And well, it's just one day before the New Year, New Year's
Correct.
Eve. That's tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So Happy New Year.
Happy New
Happy New
Year.
Year to
Happy New Year.
everyone. Mm,
Happy New Year, everyone. So, hopefully, you had, when did we, I think we met a week ago, right? Yeah, a week ago.
yeah, Tuesday, last
So,
Tuesday.
yeah, Tuesday. So, yeah, right around the corner is New Year. So exciting times, 2026. It's new beginning.
Yep. Well, I'm more
2026 is
excited
one.
this year because there are really many predictions that this 2026 is going to really be a different year.
It's a different
I don't know
frequency,
what you've
definitely.
gathered. But I've been researching, and somehow all the things that they have been mentioning are really pointing to the direction that we are actually anticipating. So here we are already.
I think the what I have been waiting for will finally come into fruition in the physical reality. Finally.
Yeah, finally.
Finally. Anyway,
I'm
okay, so
excited.
maybe later on you can share with us what you find out. But for right now, we will continue with our Kamalayan learner qualities. So if we can
Yeah,
continue with point number 11, that would
yeah.
be great.
Okay, Kamalayan. We're talking about Kamalayan traits or uh, what are the qualities of a Kamalayan learner. We've been already discussing 10 of them. So I will not anymore go back to the 10, I mean, to those 10 that we had discussed. I mean, the videos are available, so you can just look for the videos that are compiled or that were compiled by Jane here. But now, today, we'll talk about the quality that is number 11 here. In my book, I wrote about um, the what this quality is all about. And number 11 is a Kamalayan learner is creative. He creates his desires first through his thoughts and manifests them through his actions. By the way, for those first timers here, normally what I do first is read what I have written in my book about the qualities of a Kamalayan learner, 20 qualities of a Kamalayan learner. But after every quality that I've read, we discuss. Jane and I would discuss it thoroughly. So at first, I will just read what I've read so we won't miss anything. But we will add a lot of other things later on. So this is what I wrote in my book. Um, Lessons I never learned in school. A Kamalayan learner is creative. He creates his desires first through his thoughts and manifests them through his actions. Destinies are created first by thinking, doing, and by being. Whatever the Kamalayan learners want to create and make happen in their lives, they imagine it first in their minds. They believe that everything that happens to them is always a result of their own thoughts and actions. Creativity happens when one thought mingles with another thought. The sum of both thoughts combined with a particular feeling or an emotion will manifest and be created outside depending on the level of consciousness we have. Kamalayan learners are innovators. They decide on what to do and then look for strategies on how to make it happen. There is nothing impossible to them. They see it first in their minds. Visualization is a key factor here. Like artists, when they get an inspiration, Kamalayan learners begin to work on what they have imagined in their thoughts and turn it into a reality. Everyone has a God given talent. It is a unique gift that one has to discover and develop. It is one it is what one does with this talent that becomes his contribution to the service of humanity. A Kamalayan learner is a co-creator with God. He expresses through his talent the message needed to transform the world. He is able to communicate in a creative manner the ideas that will touch the mind and hearts of people. That's the number 11 of the qualities of a Kamalayan learner. Kamalayan learner is creative.
Great.
So before I continue talking, I'll give you the floor to give for you to be able to give your feedback as to what resonated with you.
Okay. So what you read is pretty straightforward, creativity. But again, we were not taught that creation must start from the unseen world, the spiritual realm, before it can manifest in the physical reality. So for those who's not aware of manifestation and the creation process, your thoughts are very, very powerful. So if you want to create things, you have to consciously you have to be conscious and always aware what you want to create, and through visualization, like he mentioned, and through imagination and through your emotion, you should be able to create that in your mind. You're supposed to start thinking, feeling, acting, speaking as if that creation that you want to create is already in existence. That's how you. That's how the creation process is until, and you don't get attached to that creation. Just know that it will manifest in divine's timing in the physical reality. Because when you attach yourself to that creation that you want to create, it's like you're not trusting. You're not trusting the divine. You're not trusting the universe that it will come through in the physical reality. So that's just what I want to comment on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Very well said. Well, uh, to just add more to this thing that I wrote, I'd like to more of explain what consciousness is all about. Why did I choose the word Kamalayan as my advocacy? Because this is where I realized that God is consciousness. If God is consciousness, what do we mean by that? Everything that we experience is God, and we experience God through our consciousness. And what does that imply? God works through our consciousness. In other words, whatever we think about, whatever we believe in, whatever we imagine, whatever we feel or are, you know, yeah, feeling at the moment, that is God at work with us. Now the thing is, does God dictate as to what we would or what we should do? No. God gave us the free will to be able to do whatever we want to do because it is through our consciousness that God is expressing itself through us because God wants to experience everything through us, individualized as we. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
different. I mean, we're all different. We're not the same people. We're not the same person. So, in other words, in every person, there is this consciousness present in every being that makes it totally different from every other person, for that matter. And so we think differently, we imagine differently. So, what does that mean? We create our worlds differently. So that means we are creating different worlds all at the same time, simultaneously. That's why people sometimes don't get to understand each other because they feel that they don't see eye to eye. They have a different way of seeing things. They see a different world, whereas the other person sees another one. Now, the thing
Yep.
here is, if people don't understand exactly what Kamalayan is all about, they they would actually attack each other. That's why we have wars at this point in time, because it's not properly explained to practically everyone what our consciousness does to us. And somehow the difference that we actually experience is not supposed to be a negative thing. It's supposed to be enjoyed by everyone. By And what I mean by enjoyed is we have to we have to acknowledge the differences in everything, in everyone that we meet, and not expect everyone to conform to what we want to make happen. That's why we're always given anything that we want to do, as long as you don't hurt anyone. You're free to do whatever. There's no, there's nothing. I would say, sabi nga sa Tagalog, walang bawal. Yeah. So, with that said, the thing that we are now doing, we are creators. What do we mean by creators? We are God as we. In terms of what we can do, that power to create is given to us to co-create with the source. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, there's nothing that is defined. You can do whatever because God wants to experience anything or everything that it can experience through us. That's the real way of believing in that God that we are talking about. Because, you know, many religions would say, no, God doesn't allow that or God doesn't want that. But God allows it. As a matter of fact, God does not say no. In everything that you want, God always says yes. So whatever you want, whether it's negative, low consciousness, yes, because that's what you want. And I mean, that's what your power is all about, to create whatever you want. And God will not stop you. No one can stop you. So with that understanding of consciousness, what does that do to us? What does that create in my life or in my world? I am so powerful, too powerful, that I can actually create whatever I want in this world, anything. And this is where the saying, um, that's why, you know, in the Bible it says that God already gave us everything. So if God gave us everything, how come many of us don't experience what we want? All right. Again, as I've said, this is something that we need to really understand. Jesus said, when you want something, believe as if you have received it already because it's there. So you have to claim. That's the problem with us. We don't claim. We think that it's not with us yet. We think that we're separated from all the things that we have right now. Remember, Jesus said, the kingdom is at hand. The kingdom is within us. And what is that kingdom? What do you want? What do you really see in that kingdom? For me, the word kingdom is I would say this would would be I would mean it in the same way as consciousness. The kingdom is our consciousness. Whatever the thing that we want, it's in our consciousness. But the problem here is, where does our consciousness lie? Because we have what we call low consciousness and the higher consciousness. And if you're in the lower consciousness, that's where actually the problems arise. Many people are not aware of this, but when you're sick, When you're angry, when you're not happy, you're in the low consciousness level. But if you're in the higher consciousness level, you have joy, peace, love, everything, success. You have everything in that higher consciousness. So the thing here is the the things that we want, money, I mean, all these things that we need to really have in terms of food, like for example, food, money, a house, all these things are a result of our consciousness, of what's inside our consciousness. The problem is we look for money separately apart from the consciousness that we have. Okay, what does that mean? Like, for example, when we look for money, I would look for a person who can give me money. I would look for a job, or I would sell something so I can actually get money. All right. But again, as I've said, money is already a result of a higher consciousness level. If you're in that higher consciousness level, that's why the saying again in the Bible, seek you first the kingdom of God, and everything shall be added unto you. Seek you first the kingdom of God, and everything else is added unto you. What do we mean again by that? Seek you first to have a higher consciousness aligned with the consciousness of God, and everything is already there, added unto you, given to you. But unless you do that, you cannot have what these things that the material things, especially that you want. That's the simple explanation that I can actually explain to people about consciousness because people don't realize that it's really our consciousness that creates everything in our life. So seek you first the higher consciousness or the kingdom of high of God, and everything is added unto you. So unless you do that, whatever work you do to have money, yes, you will have money, but you really have to work hard. And sometimes, even if you work hard, you will just maybe get a little of the money that you want.
Yeah.
But again, if you already sought the kingdom of God, which is the consciousness of God, and aligned with it, totally you have everything. That's why Jesus said, claim it because it's there. But you have to align with the source, with the higher consciousness, with Kamalayan. That's why I feel this Kamalayan is so powerful, so important that people need to understand in this world, in this lifetime. Because unless we understand it this way, we move around telling people na I hope this next year, this new year will give me this kind of prosperity. Again, I will again pray again to God to make us prosperous this coming year. It's a cycle already. I mean,
Hmm.
it's this thing that we need to address because unless we are able to be heard by people talk this way, what they hear what they hear in churches, in media, are
Yeah.
are not the things that they need to really get to hear. Okay, I think so. What can you add to that?
What I want to say is there are a lot of people out there, Kuya Tats, that understanding what you meant by align with a higher consciousness. So explain that, elaborate on that so that they can understand what actually that means. What does it entail? What would they be doing? What is
Okay,
higher consciousness
or
mean?
let's go first to the lower consciousness.
Okay.
I mean, sayang, I don't have my ano with me.
Hindi, okay lang kasi
Uh,
I can help you with that.
yeah, I mean,
What I'm
yeah,
picturing right now is the cone that
yeah,
goes,
it's a cone,
you know.
right, right. Okay,
Yeah.
the cone, you will have envy, anger, hatred, jealousy, sickness, all these negative things that we experience are in that lower consciousness level. So many of us stay there. They feel comfortable already being there. They have accepted that this is their kind of life. that they should experience because they were taught in church, in religion. Okay, that's it. All right. You can share that sana. I mean, kaya lang we don't, at this
Hindi
point, baka
nakikita.
mawala tayo sa video. Hindi. But anyway, sige na. No, later on, you can explain it again. I know you have all those diagrams that you can actually talk about later on. I mean, that they can show to people. Again, yun na nga, in that lower consciousness, we have already accepted the fact that we have to suffer in this world because that's what religion taught us. Because what religion said, the happiness that we're really seeking is not here going to, it's not going to be here to be it's not here to be experienced. It's
We've been
only going to
we've
be
been lied
experienced.
to.
Exactly, we've been lied to. The only way to experience is you have to die first. Imagine you have to die to experience happiness that, I mean, the kind of happiness that we want. That's why many commit suicide because they think that's the only solution to their problems. I mean, there are some religions who are actually believing that if, for example, they do something uh, that would, um, I would say, uh, if they will give their life to a to a mission for that matter, they will be enjoying 72 virgins in heaven. Imagine that. Why not here? I mean, you can have those virgins. No, I'm not saying. But you're here in this world with a body. Why? I don't. I don't think you. I don't think you'll be able to enjoy the 72 virgins in heaven. You don't have a body. You're a spirit. You're a spirit. So how will you now explain that? Hindi ba? But it's here in this world where you can actually enjoy the physicality of it because you have a body. But then again, that's what we are taught in religion, that everything is going to be experienced in heaven. That's why we reincarnate here on earth to be able to have a body, to experience what it's like to have a body. And then all these things that you want pala, yun na nga, akala mo you can experience that in heaven, but you cannot because you don't have a body. And so you'll have to wait again till you are able to be given a schedule to reincarnate again. And
That's
that's
the
what happens to
thing.
us.
The people don't understand incarnation, I mean, we're not taught like that. Like I didn't know about these things until I was, I start going through my spiritual journey. But most people don't, like here in the, like in the Philippines, not a lot of people
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah. I mean, sex is beautiful, but you cannot have sex in heaven, definitely, because again, you don't have a body. I mean, maybe you can experience that kind of orgasmic feeling, but then again, what I don't know how it's like, how it's going to be like without a body. So again, we are lucky. We are so lucky to have a physical body that we have right now. Although what I'm trying to explain here in Kamalayan is that we are not just going to concentrate with our body because we are really spiritual beings having a physical experience, but we are still spiritual beings. So what's the point of a spiritual being having a body? So there's a purpose for our body. I mean, it's not something that you wanted to have just because you came here and sabi mo, minalas ako, pinanganak pa ako. Hindi ka pinanganak lang. You chose to be born here
Correct.
because everything is planned. Now, the thing
Yes.
is, it wasn't taught to you. It wasn't told you. I mean, people didn't tell you exactly why
Yeah.
you're supposed to be here. But we're here because we want to experience how to be a human being,
Yeah.
to be an earthling, to have a human body. So
Hmm.
practically, we have to appreciate our body. Now, the thing here is everything in our body is positive. There's nothing negative in our body. It's just the church that tries to make something negative out of something, but there's nothing negative about anything about our any part of our body, including our reproductive parts. So that is exactly what I'm trying to address in Kamalayan. That you don't feel awkward, you don't feel shy just because you want to express your sexuality. I mean, sexuality is very important in terms of who we are. But again, we have to actually know why we are feeling that kind of thing. Now, many in the church would say, or in religion would say, no, that sexual feeling is just for reproduction. So if you're not going to have a baby, you're not supposed to experience it. And what about those people who, after having a baby, are not anymore, for example, um, something happened to the man or to the woman that you cannot give birth anymore. So that means you cannot enjoy sex anymore. Does that justify exactly what they say that sex is just for reproduction? It's for enjoyment, actually. So I don't see any reason why people would say, "Oh, sex is only for married people." Unless you get married, you cannot have sex. So what I do is I don't get married, so I'm always having premarital sex. So what's wrong with that? Again, okay, I'm trying to sound obnoxious again here. I mean, people who watch me would say, "What's wrong with this guy?" I mean, this guy's not normal. But again, as I've said, nobody talks this way except me. I mean, I need to explain what needs to be explained because people are suffering, are not happy because of their sexuality, of what they actually are are feeling about themselves with their body. They're not happy with their body. They're not able to enjoy or maximize what their body is for. So again, as I've said, that's one problem that we need to address. All right. Again, we are here as creative beings. We are creators. We create everything that actually happens in our life. There's no other person to be blamed for what happens that we don't like. Because a lot of times we blame other people for things that we experience that we never really wanted to experience. But we are the ones who create everything. So we created them. So what does that mean? We have to accept them. We have to admit that we have committed mistakes, but we have to learn. So once we have learned, well, we continue to live a life of again moving on or having a new adventure or whatever. But people get to stop uh, doing something more once they have experienced the pain, the agony, the heartbreak. They don't want to fall in love again. I mean, they don't want to meet another person again. They don't trust another person for that matter. That's the wrong way of really looking at life because, yes, we commit mistakes, but then again, we're here to learn. And so we need to create more mistakes to really create more lessons, actually. Because without those mistakes, we don't actually get to learn whatever we have to learn. That's why we need to really understand that mistakes or sins, for that matter, are really just learning processes for us. Wow, what happened there? Okay, I'm sorry. Wait, I just get
Yeah,
my
yeah.
phone. Mhm.
While you're finding your electronics there, I just wanted to add that
Yep.
to keep this simple, just uh, focus on being conscious on where your awareness is and making sure that you are vibrating in a higher emotional vibration. What that means is
Yeah,
um,
higher level of
you're
consciousness.
you're being authentic. You're experiencing peace, joy, love, all those good feelings. That's why you know in our vipassana practice, actually the password on some of the apps are be happy. That's the
Be
key.
happy.
Be
Exactly.
happy. Be happy. That's all you have to do. But sometimes we can't be happy because of the things that we've done in the past. Now, if that's you,
Or because of our
and
beliefs.
that's true, beliefs, and so I mean, expand. I think you know. I should say, if you believe in something, try to expand on broaden your perspective on things and be open to learning new things because like for example what we're talking about here is not something that talked about in church, right, in school. So keep an open mind and just be open to listening and understanding what we're talking about because we're not just teaching these. We're not just sharing these. These are based on our experiences that we're sharing. So we know that you know it works. So focus on maintaining a high vibrational frequency. And how do you get there? Choosing to be happy,
Yeah,
irregardless of
being
what
positive.
other, irregardless of other people around you. It's not being selfish to be that way. Let me tell you
Yeah,
why. Because if you're not happy, you're not making any of the people around you happy either. But if you're happy,
exactly.
you generate that positive energy, that positivity, and you affect the energy of the people around you, everyone in the house with you. So just choose to be happy. Being happy, you're vibrating in high vibration and maintain that frequency. And in that frequency, you're aligning yourself to the frequency of source, right? And that's you're embodying Christ consciousness, right? Doing the things that you're
Exactly.
supposed
The
to
Christ
do.
consciousness.
Yeah. So when you're in that space, I mean, everything is effortless. Now,
Exactly.
it can be effortless in one day, 1 minute, but because of impermanence, that will also change. It's not always up. Sometimes you're down. But in the space when you're at when you're in that space where you're a little bit down, your responsibility is always be aware to raise that vibration. It's a
Mhm.
constant, challenge because not we're not taught to be conscious all the time. That's why we're teaching be in the present moment because when you're in the present moment, you know what you're feeling, you know what emotion you're embodying. So if you're embodying fear, regret, that's the vibration that you're attracting. So when you
Okay.
understand that you're in that vibration, then you can help yourself, do whatever you needed to do to raise your vibration. There's many ways. Meditation is one.
Yeah.
Doing things that makes you happy, walking, whatever it is, singing, dancing, whatever it is that makes you happy. But be careful who you're hanging around with because people that you may be hanging around with are not may not be able to help you raise your vibration. So pick and choose who you hang out with and who you listen to.
Okay. Very well said again. And that actually is a lead to our next quality because we're talking already about change. And number 12 is a Kamalayan learner always embrace change because everything always change in our world. It's not always the same. So I will read what I've written in my book. A Kamalayan learner always embrace change. A Kamalayan learner always embrace change. Okay, embraces change. Change is happening all the time. It is a matter of knowing when to let go of certain things and accepting the new as they come. The world has drastically changed, but our beliefs, behaviors, and philosophies are still mired in a world that no longer exists. It is hard to get rid of one's long-time beliefs, habits, principles, values, attitudes, and personality traits. It will not be very easy, especially when one thinks that he has no other choice except what he had known through the years. But change is inevitable, and when one does not allow things to be altered, then there is going to be a big problem. Life must conform with accepting changes that will make it align with the universal laws that are in place. It is a process where things are revealed in a manner that only those who are aware will be able to adopt to. Events happen as a result of one's thinking. Again, where is that? Events, if, all right. Events happen as a result of one's thinking. We should be quick to acknowledge what is happening and the changes it brings. Immediately, we have to we have to decide whether it will be for the better or for the worse. The only thing that we can change is our way of thinking at present. One has a choice whether to change it. One has a choice whether to change it. Recognizing whether it is for the good or bad depends on the awareness of the person to discern the consequences that will result from continuously dwelling on a particular thought. If he knows what will happen eventually, immediately he can decide to change or not to change the position or condition of his thoughts. An assessment of one's life will determine what has to be changed. Any thought that is not contributing to one's happiness should be changed. Every habit, programming, and belief should be assessed to find out which ones to retain and which ones to drop. Things do not just happen in our lives. We attract every single circumstance that affects us according to our consciousness brought about by our thoughts. Now is the time to change everything that has to be changed in us. The transformation has to happen first in us. Happy New Year. So, before making your New Year's resolution, the changes that you want to change, well, I hope we have given you a guide as to how to do it. So, but what can you add, Jane, to that?
Um, if the viewers hasn't listened or watched the story that I shared about the two rings, one is the gold ring and one is a silver ring, I want you to listen to it, and I will probably include it in my post here so you guys can listen to it if you haven't yet. But basically, it's about change of
Mm-hmm.
seasons, change of how things are in our life. So, who wants change, right? We don't like change because, I mean, it affects us, it affects our well being. The problem is we have
I
to
love
adopt.
change.
I love to adopt. And, you know, when you're in a comfortable situation, most likely things that's not going your way will happen and vice versa. So, but that's just the way, that's just how it is. And I can I share this so many times that I credit my my practice of Vipassana because it taught me how to be balanced, how to be equanimous when change happens. You know, we have no control over that. People will piss us off. People will say something. People will do things that we don't have any control over. And you know what? We can't do anything. But what we can do is, you know, we only have control with what we can think, what we can do. So we have to learn how to control ourselves, and it's not easy because you know it takes a lot of practice because people will trigger us. People will say things to upset us. People will do things to just sometimes purposely that they would piss us off to test us. That's how evil some people are.
All
So
right.
just make sure that um you stay balanced, you stay grounded, and know that whatever it is that you're going through, if you're going through something nice, something positive, something happy, enjoy it. And knowing that it will also change. And when you're going through hard times, challenges, learn from that lesson. Maybe you can make some changes so it doesn't that thing can happen again. And know that that's temporary. But you need to help yourself. You cannot stay in low vibe. You have to do something to raise your vibration up so you can shift. You can alchemize that energy, and then you can attract good things again.
Well, again, thank you for that. The thing here is, I'd like to add to what you have said. When we actually get these kinds of reactions from other people, what they do to us, and we try to change them, that's the worst thing that we can do to change them, because we cannot change other people. We can only change ourselves. We can only manage our reactions to whatever is going on, but we can never change another person for that matter. It's only us who can really change. So, with that said, what can we do if that is exactly what is supposed to be done? I mean, that we're not going to change other people. Well, we have to accept other people as they are, accept them as to what you really don't like with them, because basically, even those things that you don't like in them are not exactly permanent in terms of uh, them experiencing it, because eventually later on they will also change. But again, as I've said, everything changes, everyone changes, but we cannot change any other person for that matter. We can only change ourselves. Now, the thing is, when it comes to change, again, we've been creating a lot of things in our life, but the thing that we have not created is so far the things that we need to change in ourselves. We have to really now identify the things that we need to change, because it's not working anymore. Many of the things that we are, or that we were programmed, our habits, our beliefs, they need to be changed now. They need to be upgraded or totally abandoned for that matter. So, what I'm trying to say here is, people are not supposed to be stagnant in where they are. There's always a move. There's always movement. There's always I would say a flow. So practically, we're not the same person always. We always change. Like me, for example, I change every minute for that matter. So in anything that I do here in the house, even if I'm alone, practically I do a lot of things because I always change my mind so many times for that matter. So I enjoy doing those things because it keeps me busy for that matter. So it's not bad, it's not negative. It's something that we need to really understand about who we are. We're constantly changing, moving, and there's nothing permanent in this world. Everything that we are now seeing are just illusions for that matter. We can change practically everything that we are totally seeing at this point in time in terms of what we are now experiencing in our world. We are the script writers, we are the directors of our present movies that we are now projecting outside. So practically, we have control over that. We can change anything that we don't like. So there's no problem. So why are we complaining? We're not supposed to be complaining, because I've said we are now creating practically everything. So we can change whatever we want to change. So again, as I've said, the only thing that we cannot change is another person. But again, what is needed to be understood there is if you don't like a person as to why he is like that, it is just a reminder again of who we are that needs to be changed in us, not with the other person, but in us. Because if you're not affected, that means there's nothing wrong. But if you're affected, why are you affected? That means we are experiencing the same thing. So might as well say thank you to that person reminding you of what needs to be changed in you. Our enemies, for that matter, are the very best people to affect that change in us because everything that we don't like in other people are practically are in us that we need to change. That's a reminder for us of what we should change. That's why in my workshops in Kamalayan, the first part is write everything that you hate in another person and write everything that you love in another person. And then after them doing it, I mean I make them list many things, not only 1 to 10, but maybe 1 to 50. Everything that you hate in people, everything that you don't like, list them down. And then what you love or what you like, list them down also on the left side. So they have 2 columns. And then once you've written them, I make them read it to themselves. And then I tell them everything that you've written here, it's you. Practically, it's you. So don't complain. No, I'm not that one. I'm not a liar. I'm not this kind of a person. Again, as I've said, if you didn't notice it, it wouldn't be there. But you listed it. The moment you list it, that means it's really part of you. So that's what you need to know. That's your homework now. That's what you need to change in you. At least you have a list. So siguro for those who are going for those who are watching us now, especially in this New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, that's the best thing you can do. List down everything that you hate in other people and everything that you like in other people. And again, as I've said, the moment you've listed them down, list it. You have to write them down sincerely. You don't fake them. You don't actually not uh, or you don't avoid other things, but you have to really put them there. And then again, that's a guide for you. That's who you are. That's what you need to really change in you. So many of the things that we get to see in that list are really something that we abhor. So somehow parang hindi naman totoo yan eh. Again, as I've said, it is not going to be listed there in your list if it is not proof that you have that also in you. That's why many of the people who actually take my star consciousness seminar, I mean, I need to really make them be aware of their negative traits, their negative qualities, and that's one uh, I would say workshop is that is very important to them. That's why after that workshop, they're a different person altogether because they've totally changed who they are for the better.
Okay. I want to add something to that because when you were explaining that, I was like, I don't think I will agree to that because I do hate
Yeah, people
people
will not
who
agree, really.
people would, I mean, like for me, I was thinking, okay, well, I don't like people who lies because in our practice in Vipassana, that's one of the things, rightful speech is one of the practice that we try to embody. But I don't like the people who lies. That doesn't mean that I'm a liar. You're telling me that I put that quality in what I don't like with the people because it's a reflection of me. I don't think so. Maybe before white
Yeah, okay,
lies,
maybe
maybe
okay.
before,
I
but you need to clear that because for me, I'm not agreeing to that.
yeah, yeah,
I
okay.
hate people who lies.
I'll I'll more of explain it further. All right. This was also something that I did agree at at first when I learned about these things. But in my research, in every research I made, it was the same thing that they mentioned. That everything that you see in other people that you don't like are all in you. That you are, I mean, okay, if you're not affected, what does that mean? You understand who they are, and somehow there's no feeling of whatever that, for example, negative that you feel about it. Because as I've said,
I
if you're
think
not,
you're I think what you should, how you should explain this, if you have an aversion to the qualities, to those qualities, and you're
yeah, I
affected
mean,
by
if you,
it, then yeah,
yeah, exactly, exactly. Now the thing here is, again, many of the things that we normally take for granted, that we think it's not going to affect us, but basically it's there. It's not being addressed. That's why we need to really thoroughly define everything, to list down everything. Otherwise, it's just there in us, not being addressed to, and so it it doesn't. Is there's nothing that is changed in us. So
I see what you're
practically,
saying.
that's why.
I get, I think it's a good exercise to self-reflect. I think it's a good tool to self-reflect because that's the only
Yeah,
time that you will, really spend the time to figure out, you know, the kind of things that you like and not like. So yeah, it's a good tool to use when you're self-reflecting and trying to change things about you.
exactly. So in other words, it's not something that we try to avoid because, as I've said, I don't agree. But then again, maybe, all right, there's a bit of it. Okay, maybe I'm not really a big liar, but I am a white liar. I mean, I tell white lies, for example. You might say a white lie is something that sometimes you cannot avoid because you want to save face, you want to save another person or yourself, for that matter, in terms of a situation. So you tell a lie. It's a little lie, but still it's a lie. That's the main thing there.
I want to
That's what
share
I'm trying to
a
get.
I want to share a quick story when because during Vipassana group sit after the 1 hour meditation we have Q&A and the teacher will be able to answer some of the students' questions. And one of the question that that one of the Vipassana student asked can again we're trying to practice the eight noble path, right? So right speech is one of the eight noble paths. So
Yeah.
lying is definitely not, you know, not accepted. But anyway, so the person, the student asked, could lying, even though you're just joking, be okay? And the teacher answered, no, it's not okay. Because once you justify that as a lie, it's just next thing you know, you're just accumulating those lies, whether it's a
Yeah,
joke or
exactly.
not. Okay, so
Exactly.
just don't lie, period.
Mm,
Because
exactly.
your one lie will cover another lie and cover another lie until you
Mm.
can't figure out what was the first lie that you're trying to cover up.
Mm. Well, again, all these things practically are not something that is there permanently in us.
But
So it comes and goes.
my thing is, if you have to lie, then that means you're not in a good situation and you need to leave that situation.
For example, your sister, you have a sister with you, or a brother, and then you know that if you really admit it to maybe an authority that he is like that, he'll get apprehended at once, whatever. And then somehow parang to save that person from being caught or being brought to jail. You say, no, 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 it's not practically okay. All right. Now the thing here is what we really get to see outwardly is just based from our beliefs. So there are people who believe that this is not a big thing. There are cultures that say there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh my goodness.
So it's
What culture is that?
uh,
I make sure I don't go there.
and there, for example, I mean, we have a lot of cultures that ban what we experience a free as a free pay as a free nation here in the Philippines. In other cultures, we cannot actually dress up the way we dress up here in the Philippines, especially with women. In terms of what they allow or what they try to say, this is what they accept. Somehow, it's based practically on our beliefs. So the moment you are able to identify those things, you can see already the differences in terms of where it's coming from. So for you, for example, like we are really more westernized than Asian. We are more, I would say, modern, more modern than our Thailand neighbors in terms of our beliefs, in terms of who we are. But again, as I've said, there's nothing wrong with practically what we're doing and what they consider wrong in terms of what they see in us. So that's where exactly all these things would come in. Because again, as I've said, it's all a matter of cultural thing, a cultural thing, a belief, our programming, our I would say habits, what were taught to us in schools. So again, there's nothing really permanent or I would say um, uh, a thing that would say it's infinite or it's something forever. It all changes, except again, what doesn't change? The four universal laws that I normally promote or talk about. Everything else would change, except for the four principles or the four laws that I actually always emphasize here. So again, as I've said, everything changes. So
Okay.
we can move on and accept and try to now more of identify ourselves with something more of on a higher level of consciousness to be able to practically um, accept many of the things that we're supposed to enjoy in this world. Unless we do that, uh, that's we. I mean, we are putting limitations on who we are. Again, we are infinite beings. As a spiritual beings, there's nothing really that's going to limit you in terms of how you would do things. Because the moment you think of something, immediately it comes out already in your physical world. So whatever is there in your thoughts, the moment you, at least here right now, we're still experiencing a delay of what
Because
we're
it's
thinking,
dense.
and we don't actually see it at once outside our world. Imagine if you think of an elephant, and then an elephant is practically sitting on, standing in front of you. I mean, that's a big problem. What will you do with that elephant now in front of you?
All right.
So we are.
So
Uh, do we
we
have time yet?
are no, we're an hour and 15 minutes already. So we're gonna have to continue in the next week. We'll
Okay.
cover
So
number 13 and
all right.
see how
So
much we can cover for an hour next week. All right.
okay.
Any
Again,
final thoughts?
no, no. As a matter of fact, I am really happy that these are the things that we discussed today because practically these are things that we need to really hear, especially in these days to come, the new year, because we need
Yes.
to understand how to change our life what is now happening, what's going on, what's going to happen. At least we're prepared. So that's it. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year to you, Jane. And enjoy the rest of the weekend. The weekend. Not yet. It's still the week. So it's just
We
Tuesday nga
just
pala.
we just started the week. Oh my God.
Yeah,
For
enjoy
for
the week
me,
ahead.
it's always weekend. There's no weekday, there's no weekend.
Yeah, that's true. The same day, every day. So
Yeah.
thank you again.
Anyway, thank you
Bye
for
bye.
sharing your wisdom, Kuya Tato. We covered number 11, which is creativity, and number 12, which is change. And we will resume our dialogue next week again to cover number 13
Next
and
year. We'll
possibly,
see each other next
yes,
year.
we will see each other next year. We'll see how it goes. Exciting times are ahead. So let me end this recording.